And then obviously we also have our value that we need to bear in mind. Now, I'm not going to talk too much to this value, except for the fact that I want you to take note of the fact that n is negative. And remember, negative n, it's the n for me. I choked in one of my lessons today. I nearly threw up on all my children. It was terrible. I'm sorry, I've now sidetracked. Yeah, no, I had to like run out because I choked on a piece of muesli. This is the lesson. It's why you don't eat in class. Um, I want you to take note of the fact that n is negative. N still represents our number of payments being made, but we need to bear in mind that we are working with a scenario where we're paying off, and so we're decreasing the number of payments that we're needing to work with. Okay, so little bit different in terms of that formula. The n is negative. Also notice the fact that for future value, it was the bracket first and then -1. This is 1 minus the bracket. Once again, we're taking the full loan amount that we owe plus all of the interest, and we are subtracting the values of our repayments plus interest as we go off. So it's just important to kind of take into account those tiny little differences that we do have in our formula, that it doesn't change the way we work with our formula. We substitute in, and that's that. Okay, so I'm just going to wait there in case you want to screenshot anything. And so, and then we'll look at some examples. Okay, right, so let's look at our first one. Malabongo takes out a bank loan to pay for his new car. He repays the loan by means of monthly payments of 5,000 Rand for a period of 5 years, starting 1 month after the granting of the loan. So this is what I said earlier. This phrasing, starting 1 month after the granting of the loan, this is not something you need to stress about. This is the standard procedure. Once the loan is granted, then only we start making payments, and it is generally the month after. Don't stress about that. That is standard. That is how it should be. So it's not going to do anything weird with N. Nothing strange is happening. It's just telling you that the normal procedure is happening here for our loan. The interest rate is 24% per annum, compounded monthly. Calculate the purchase price of his new car. Okay, so we are wanting to figure out what this new car cost him. Okay, so loan scenario, present value formula. X is our monthly repayments. And remember, what we need to bear in mind is that these monthly repayments have already been calculated for us. So you're not going to go into the bank and say, I'm going to take out a home loan, but I'm only going to pay back 1,000, because that is how we say numbers. But I'm only going to pay back 1,000 Rand every month. What happens is, depending on the loan amount that you take out, your monthly repayments is calculated. Hence, bigger the loan, bigger the repayment. And what you can see here, if we just go back to our formula, because of that negative n as well, it allows us to deduct interest, which means that we can do what we're about to do, figure out our original purchase price or our original loan amount, and figure out how much is still owed on the loan, which we're going to get to. But this is why the formula is so nice, because it takes into account all of the interest that we do need to repay on our loan, which is really important, as we know, in a loan scenario. Right, 5,000, 1 minus 1 plus our I, which is 24%, which is quite high. Unfortunately, loans do have relatively high interest rates, compounded monthly. And now remember, it's a negative. It is for a 5-year period every month, which means that we are going to have to make 60 payments over that period. So it's the power negative 60, all over our I value, 24% compounded monthly. So I'm going to say this again. This formula allows us to work with our monthly repayments, which already have interest calculated on them. And because of that negative, we can work with finding the original or purchase price of our car. We can work with finding balance outstanding. And it allows us to take into account all of the interest without needing to stress about adding that on for ourselves. It's done. That 5,000 Rand has the interest included in it already. All right, and then we just chuck that into our calculator, and we get that the purchase price of this car, so the loan he would have had to take out, is 173,804 Rand 43 cents. So we know how much we pay each month with interest. We know how many months we're paying it off. We know what the interest rate is. We can now use this to go and work out how much or what the purchase price of whatever item it is that we're working with is. Question B then says, oh, sorry, I've started reading and I was like, what have I done? I know what I've done. Malibongwe takes out a loan to pay for his new car, and he pays an initial amount, a deposit of 10,000 Rand. He then makes monthly repayments for a period of 5 years, starting 1 month after the granting of the loan. Again, we know that this is stock standard. The interest rate is 24% compounded monthly. Calculate the monthly payments if the car costs him 173,804.43 cents. So we can kind of also see that we've confirmed our answer that we got in question A. That was how much the car initially cost for him to take out the loan. But now we have a scenario where there is a deposit. Now, I'm sure you all know what a deposit does, and I'm sure you all understand what a deposit, what impact it has on your loan repayment. But can someone tell me A, what a deposit is, and B, what effect does it have on your loan? Boucle?
I'm going to take a wild guess. So I want to buy a car, but in order for me to buy a car, they first want me to pay a certain amount of money to prove that I'm actually serious about driving the car, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And that money that I pay, if at a later stage I would want a loan, then my loan is not going to be as big because I've already paid a certain amount of the car. So the loan that I would need to take out is smaller.
Excellent. Okay. So exactly. A deposit, an amount you pay upfront. I always tell my kids it's like your first payment. Like Butle says, I'm making this payment to you with every intention that I plan on repaying the loan I'm about to take out. So that's great. Because you are making this payment, what we need to bear in mind, and this is sort of second part of Butle's answer, a company, a business, a bank cannot charge you interest on something you've already paid. If I've paid that 10,000 Rand, I cannot be charged interest for it. It is not going to be part of the loan I take out. It's actually going to decrease my loan amount. And this is why if you are going to take out a loan, if you can pay a deposit, it is hugely beneficial. Because what this does is it decreases the loan amount. And we're going to chat about how we calculate that in a second. Right, so anytime, like, I don't know, life advice, anytime you need to take out a loan, we all need to take out loans. If you can pay a deposit, do so and try and pay as much of a deposit as possible because of the fact that it decreases how much you pay on the loan. If you're decreasing your loan amount, you're decreasing the amount of interest you have to pay back, and often it means you can actually decrease the amount of time you spend repaying this loan, which is also beneficial. Right, so we have all of the same information. Everything is fine. The difference now is this deposit. And so this is where we now need to do an initial calculation. If we think about our formula, so present value formula, we have got, I don't know why I put a bracket there, x, 1 minus 1 plus I to the power negative n all over I. We are looking for, according to the question that has been asked, the monthly payments. So I'm looking to solve for x, which means that I need my present value. My present value is how much does my car currently cost. So in the context of this, what is my loan amount that I'm taking out? And so if we now want to figure out our loan amount, so the current purchase price, cash price, whatever you want to go with, we are going to take how much the car costs in cash without the deposit. So our 173,804.43 cents. And we are going to deduct the amount we are paying upfront because again, I can't be charged interest on that. And so we get that we are actually only taking a loan out for 163,804.43 cents. And that becomes my P value, my present value. So now we can substitute everything in. And this allows me to solve for x. Interest has stayed the same, and then I don't write it the same at 24% compounded monthly. It is for still our 5-year period, so it's the power negative 60 all over 0.24 over 12. Now, like I explained to you on Monday, if you recognize the fact that actually all you need to do is divide the 163,804 Rand 43 cents by that value, go for it. If you need to do the inverse operations, times by the denominator, divide by the square brackets, that is also absolutely fine. It makes absolutely no difference how you choose to do it. You're going to get exactly the same answer. You decide what you're comfortable with. But we end up with a monthly repayment of 4,712 Rand 32 cents. And hopefully what you can see is if you now compare the two values you've gotten in each of these answers, we started with a monthly payment of 5,000 Rand and we got that down to 4,700 Rand. That is the effect of paying a deposit. It decreases how much you have to repay on your loan. Okay, so quite a straightforward example, basic example to start off with, but it does show A, how to deal with a deposit, and B, the effect of the deposit, and then obviously just the application of your formula, using your formula, working with your present value formula. Right, so I'm just going to wait for you to screenshot, and if you have any questions, I'm also just going to wait in case anyone wants to ask anything. Otherwise, we can have a look at another one. Bootle?
Do we always have to multiply the years by the months?
Yes. If it's compounded monthly, yes. If it was compounded quarterly, we would take the number of years and times by 4, semi-annually by 2. I'm trying to think of other ones that we often use. Those are the big ones. Yeah. If it was
Okay.
daily by 365.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, the big compounding periods that we use, because this is a good question, they often use monthly. Okay, monthly is the big one that we often use just because that is generally what is used in banks, investments, loans in real life. The second most common one is quarterly. Can't tell you if I've ever seen a semi-annually, half-yearly, one of those. I don't remember seeing one. So if they have used it, it's maybe been in one question, but it is usually compounded monthly. And so like Bootle says, we need to take into account what that means for our number of payments. And that's also why I say when I teach finance in like grade 10, 11, particularly in grade 11, when we start talking about compounding periods, I no longer use N as number of years. I say N is the number of payments. Okay. And so if you think of it, number of payments over 5 years, 12 payments every single year, that's how we get to 60. Yeah, that's a good way to think of it, Callan, actually. Yeah, logic. So as long as it makes sense to you, but good way to think about it. Nice. Especially in terms of a loan scenario. All right, so let's have a look at question C. It says, how much money will you need to win in the national lottery so as to receive equal monthly payments of 10,000 Rand per month from the bank for a period of 20 years, starting 1 month after winning the lottery? The bank grants you an interest rate of 12% per annum compounded monthly. So this might sound like a bit of a weirdly phrased loan question, but think of it as you're winning the lottery now. You want the money now, but we need to figure out what we would need to be able to win so that we can actually get what we want in terms of our monthly repayments. So again, think about your formula. We are trying to work out what we need to win now. What lottery amount do I need to win right now so that I can get these 10,000 Rand payments? That means our X is 10,000 Rand. 1 minus 1 plus the interest, so 12% compounded monthly. So we divide by 12. And then because we wanted it for a 20-year period, we will now say, okay, 20 years with 12 monthly payments gives me an exponent of 240. So to the power negative 240 all over our I value. And so we can go back to, well, what did we need to initially win so that we can actually have that loan taken out every single month, 10,000 Rand for 20 years. and we get just shy of R1,000,000. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, so nothing too tricky. Really, again, think of your context. If you want the money now, if you need the money now, it's present value. If you're saving for the future investment, whatever, future value. So here we want the money now. We need the lottery to be won now so that we can get what we want, present value. Right, so as you can see, there is one that you're going to try, but I'm just going to wait for everyone to finish up. Okay. Right, so it says Lorato wishes to apply for a home loan. This is the one you're going to try now. The bank charges interest at 11% per annum compounded monthly. She can afford a monthly installment of 9,000 Rand and wants to repay the loan over a period of 15 years. She'll make the first monthly installment 1 month after the loan is granted. Normal procedure, nothing weird there. Calculate to the nearest 1,000 Rand uh, the maximum amount that Lorato can borrow from the bank. Okay, so relatively straightforward. Think carefully about it. Think about what values you have, what you're trying to work out. It's a loan scenario, so present value. Let's give it a try. This is from a past paper. This was a 5 marker. I don't think you need 5 minutes. So I'm going to give you 3 to start off with. I'll check in 3 minutes, and then we'll see if you need some more time. Just put the formula on the side there in case anyone needs it. Okay, do we need a bit more time? Just give me a thumbs up if you're done. Okay, I'm going to give 1 more minute just because it seems like there's only a few of you done, but one more minute, then we'll have a look. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so we are trying to calculate the original value of the loan, the maximum value. So we're looking for present value. 9,000 Rand is the monthly repayment, 1 minus 1 plus I, which is the 11% compounded monthly. It is a 15-year loan, so we will take 15 and times it by 12. Can't tell you what that is off the top of my head. Oh no, 15 times 12, 180. And so this is to the power negative 180 all over our I value. Okay, now importantly, it said to the nearest 1,000 Rand. So you get a whole long decimal, 791,800 something. I can't tell you exactly what it is, and I will tell you exactly what it is. I had it, and then I didn't have it. 791,837 Rand, 43 cents. So to the nearest 1,000 means that we're working at the hundreds, or looking at the hundreds rather, to round up to the 1,000. And so this is approximately 792,000. Right, because it did specify the rounding, please make sure you do actually round it off to what we've asked. In a question like this, particularly in finance, if we are specific about how we want the rounding, then we are going to allocate marks to that rounding. So you will lose a mark if you don't round off to what we've asked you for. Okay, but that's it. Substitute into the formula, get your answer. Just gonna wait in case anyone wants a screenshot, and then we're gonna have a look. Have a look at the next example. That's what I was trying to say. Cool. Alrighty. On the 1st of June 2016, a bank granted Yusra a loan of 250,000 Rand at an interest rate of 15% per annum compounded monthly. You can see what I was saying earlier. We love a compounded monthly to buy a car. Yusra agreed to repay the loan in monthly installments commencing on 1 July 2016 and ending 4 years later on the 1st of June 2020. However, Yusra was unable to make the first 2 installments, so to make those first 2 payments, and only commenced with monthly installments on the 1st of September 2016. So this is now a bit of a deviation from the norm. And this obviously happens, right? In life, sometimes it happens that you can't make your monthly repayment on your loan. And so all this means is that the monthly repayment value that you will pay for future or in the future months is going to increase. Because remember, we don't want to extend our loan. So we do not want to increase the number of months we have to pay off the loan. So what we can do is if we can't make the first few payments, we can increase how much we pay each month going forward, and it will repay that sort of lost time, for lack of a better description. All right, so let's look at the first question. Calculate the amount Yusha owed the bank on the 1st of August 2016, a month before she paid her first installment. Okay, so this is saying to us, calculate how much she still owes the bank before she starts making any installments. That's essentially what the question is saying. Because remember, the loan has been taken out. So we've taken out this 250,000 Rand loan. Just because she can't make the repayments doesn't mean that loan goes away. That loan is still earning interest for those first 2 months before she makes her first payment. Okay, so we still need to go and calculate how much interest is being earned for those 2 months that she missed before we go and work with any sort of loan formula, any present value formula. Let's just make sure we understand the dates before we just run into this. So remember, payments only start 1 July. Okay, this was so sorry, so 31 August. But because she's, I'll fix it now. But because she's not making the first 2 installments, so she's missing 1st of July, and she's missing 1st of August payments. She's only making payments 1st of September. So we need to figure out what is still owed. And like I say, I do apologize. I should say, I don't actually know if that's why I panicked and erased it, because I don't know if August has 30 or 31 days. 31 days. Apologies. Panic, unnecessary panic. But there we go. Right, so July, whole of July, whole of August, it's earning interest. She's only going to make a payment 1st of September. Now, because there are no repayments to be made, there's nothing weird, wonderful in terms of like matric present value. We just use our compound interest formula. We are just going to add on 2 months worth of interest to our value at 15% compounded monthly. Right, and this is kind of going back to Buthle's question earlier. It's only for 2 months. Okay, so it's only 2 months that we have to earn this extra interest. And this is why I say I think of this exponent not as number of years times the compounding period, which you can do, that's fine. It would then be a 6 times 12. But I think of how many installments, payments, periods, whatever am I working with? And it's only 2 here. So I'm to the power 2. If you want to say that 2 months is 1/6 of a year, and then take 1/6 and times it by 12, you get exactly the same value of 2. So it doesn't matter what you choose to do. But like I said, I shift my thinking in terms of this exponent now represents number of payments. And so this tells me that before she even starts repaying this loan, she's actually earned just over 6,000 Rand interest that she now also has to repay on this loan. And this loan is obviously not a good thing, because it does means you end up paying more because the interest keeps adding. That's not going to stop, unfortunately. Right, so we have that. Question 2 then says, having paid her first monthly installment on the 1st of September, I don't know why I've now gone his Yusra will pay her last monthly installment on the 1st of June 2020. So same end date as what we started with. Calculate the value of this monthly installment. So again, what has happened is because the monthly installments have started later, what the initial monthly installment quoted to her is obviously no longer accurate. So we need to recalculate our monthly installment. We know how much she owes on the loan. So we know that she owes the 256,289 Rand 6 cents. We are trying to find X, the value of the monthly installment. we know that the interest is 15% compounded monthly. And if we work out our number of years, we're able to get the exponent, and we're going to do that in a second, all over our interest rates. Okay, so let's just make sure we have the correct number of installments, correct number of months. And this is, I think this is my worst part of finance, because now it means accounting. In my head, I can't just go year to year. So 1st of September, first monthly installment, which means 1st of September, 1st of October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay, so up to August, that's 12 months. So we now need to think very carefully about our installments for this next period. Now, 2016 to 2020 is a 4-year period. And if you think September to June, September is the 9th month, June is the 6th month. Yeah, sure, panic. That is a 9-month period. So we just need to be very careful, because it's not just like clean cuts. All right. So the 1st of June, last payment. If we go back, June, August, September. Sure, guys, sorry. The math today is not mathing very well. If we were to go 1 September 2016 to almost booklet, see, this is why I get confused, to 1 September 2020, that would be 48 months, because 4 years. 4 times 12, 48. I'm questioning everything I know about math. 48 months. Sure, okay. But we're not going to 1 September 2020, we're going to 1 June 2020. So June, July, August, September. But we are making a payment on the 1st of June. So there is actually a first payment on the 1st of June. So we're just missing those last 2 months, August, September. So it is 46 months that we're making this payment, because we're not going the full 4 years. We're cutting the last 2 months off, because we're still making that payment on the 1st of June. We're just missing July, August payments. Okay, so yeah, I hate questions like this. Usually we don't give you questions like this in finals. Finals is not usually like so horrible like this, but you do actually need to go and count. And honestly, grade 12s, I'm not ashamed to admit that I will sit and count on my fingers for 4 years. To make sure I'm using the correct number of months, I will sit and count on my fingers. And if that's what you need to do, rather do that. Okay, so because of the fact that we are paying on the 1st of June, we're only missing 2 payments to make it up to 4 years, and so 46 months. Does that make sense to everyone before I carry on with anything? I am also aware of the fact that it is 25 to 7, so I will wrap this up very quickly. Okay, cool. All right. All right, Sunday, I will explain now in a second. We will substitute in and we're going to solve. I'm going to come back to this now. Right, so we've substituted in. We're solving for x. Like I say, inverse operations, you're going to get what you need. But we end up with monthly repayments of 7,359 Rand 79 cents. So that is how much he's going to have to pay on the loan. If we calculated it for the 250,000 Rand, you would see that that X amount would be less, because she wasn't skipping the first 2 installments. And so we're not needing to then stress about all the extra interest if it was the 250,000. But because we do have that extra interest, my monthly installments needs to go up. All right, so let's just chat about this time frame. If you're happy, you can take a screenshot and you're welcome to leave. It's absolutely fine. I'll finish this question next week, Monday, so don't stress. I've just realized I have not put a quiz up for you guys. So I'm going to say don't stress about a quiz this week. Don't worry about it. I'll get shouted at. That's not your problem to deal with. No quiz this week. Don't stress. We'll do a consolidation quiz on finance. You just focus on what you need to focus on. Okay, so first installment, 1st of September. Okay, this is for 2016. Then we've got September, October, November, December, and now we've reached the end of 2016. So Jan, Feb, March, April, May. I haven't made this long enough. June, but it's fine. Right, so let's just see, because 1 June is where we finish off. So let's see how many months this is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's to 1 June 2017. This actually might be a little bit easier to understand. So this is, I don't know why I chose to explain it the other way. That is 10 payments that we have to make. Now we can go from 1 June 2017 to 1 June 2020, because that's a 3-year period. There's nothing stressful about that. That's 36 months. So if we take 36 and then the 10 months that we had to pay to start off with, that gives me a combined 46. I don't know why I didn't explain this like this earlier. I'm sorry. Sometimes my brain just does weird and wonderful things with times. Sunday, does that make more sense? Okay, see, you know, like I said, this confuses me, and I think this is why sometimes I panic about it and clearly don't explain it in the most logical way, because the dates sometimes panic me, as it did here, and I could have explained it so much better, and so I do apologize that I did not explain it as well as I could have. But honestly, when in doubt, just count. Okay, so count it until the date that makes sense, where you can just count the number of years and then go from there. All right. Okay, guys. So unless you have questions, obviously you're welcome to ask questions. You are also welcome to go. I will see you on Monday. Like I say, no quiz, mostly just because I forgot to do the quiz, and that is a me problem, not a you problem. So you don't need to stress about it. We'll do a finance consolidation quiz. It is a small section, so that'll be enough. I will finish this question on Monday.